I understand your mission was a failure and you sustained losses. We don't usually expect trouble when collecting younglings. What happened? A young Jedi Knight stood in the center of the Jedi Council chambers as a lone Council Master sat, contemplating the bloodied rags around the stump where the Knight's right hand should be. It's a bit of a story, but I feel I must tell the whole tale to explain this. We received a standard report of a Force-sensitive child on Felucia. It's a remote world, but every Force-sensitive child is precious, so I was dispatched to collect the child and negotiate with their parents about being allowed to come to the temple for training, it not being a Republic world after all. When I arrived, the locals were reticent about talking to outsiders, but eventually I was able to determine that the child was orphaned and had been taken in by an old hermit who lived in the jungle, emerging only to trade beautifully cut gemstones for supplies and rough-cut stones. I even got to see some of his work, and each stone was cut with such perfection as to mesmerize anyone. Some even took the shape of crystalline versions of the very beasts that inhabit the jungle, all cut from natural stones native to Felucia.
Is the quality of the local artisan's handiwork relevant, young knight?
Yes, Master, it is. Apologize for seeming like I was embellishing excessively. Having witnessed this artisan's handiwork, I set out through the jungle to find this man and convince him to let me take the child back to the temple. I found him deep in the jungle, living in a tiny hut suspended between a trio of trees with a rope ladder to allow access but keep the local wildlife out.
We don't want visitors. Go away.
I'm a knight with the Jedi Council. We've received a report of a Force-sensitive child who should be returned to the temple on Coruscant for training.
She doesn't want to go with you.
Perhaps I could talk to the child myself. The Jedi have a lot to offer a child.
Talk, eh? Yeah, I'm sure you'd like that. I've heard of you Jedi and your tricks. She doesn't want to go with you.
Sir, I'm afraid I wasn't asking. Force-sensitive people are potentially dangerous if left on their own or taken in by the wrong sorts. Induction into the Jedi Order is the best thing for her and everyone else. With that, the knight reached out with the Force to tug on the bindings holding a rope ladder in place and began climbing into the hut. Upon reaching the top, the knight was confronted by an angry man in an apron with a small child cowering behind one leg. They stood with their backs to a workbench where glassy debris surrounded a large gemstone that had been partially cut, but no tools were evident.
I'm warning you, leave my house and the child. She wants to stay here.
As I said, sir, I'm not asking. Force-sensitive younglings are dangerous, and you are not equipped to handle one here.
I'll be the judge of that. Now leave.
The knight moved inside to a chair at the other end of the room. The pair shifted to keep the old man between the knight and the girl. Listen, we don't like to force things, but what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's better for everyone if the girl comes with me to the temple. There will be other children with similar abilities, and there will be wise masters to help her refine and hone her gift. She can't get anything like that in a place like this.
You have no idea what I can teach her, knight. Now leave my home before I make you leave.
Sir, I don't think you want to try that. At least let me test the child to assess her potential before I go.
Already with the tests? That's no life for a child being sent around to bully people who can't refuse you because you have mystical powers and being told that their very emotions are the path to evil. You Jedi disgust me.
I'm surprised that someone like you knows so much about us, but you've gotten a very twisted depiction of what the Jedi are about. Fear, anger, and hate, those are all paths to the dark side, and once someone has fallen to darkness, redemption is rarely possible.
Oh yeah, I know your ways. Got to hear all about them as a child in your bloody temple. Bunch of cultist hypocrites. Tell me, When you're dispatched to end some rebellion somewhere, lightsaber in hand, how is fear not the motivation? Or is everything just about maintaining the status quo no matter how corrupt? How afraid of change are you, anyway?
The young knight shifted his robes to expose the hilt of his lightsaber. You trained the temple, but left? Who are you?
Left? No, expelled. They didn't think that I had what they were looking for, even in a Padawan, so they abandoned me before my training really ever began. I then refined what little talent I have on my own without your beloved masters.
I will not allow the child to stay with someone who couldn't even finish youngling training to become a Padawan. You'll absolutely do more harm than good with such incomplete training. The old man then twitched a finger, and the knight flinched as a drop of blood beaded on his cheek.
I'm not warning you again. Leave.
The knight touched his cheek and contemplated the smear of blood on his fingertips. How the hell did he do that? Some dark power? He drew his lightsaber. The man was clearly dangerous, and he could not be left in charge of this child. He ignited the saber, and the old man raised his hands in a defensive posture while the little girl collapsed to the floor with a squeal and crawled under the workbench.
That was a mistake.
The old man whipped his right hand horizontally while making a pulling motion with the left, ending the fight before it began. The knight's hand dropped limp to the floor as the lightsaber hilt flew across the room to the old man's left hand. The knight dropped to his knees in shock as blood began to squirt rhythmically from his stump wrist. The old man dropped the lightsaber hilt onto his workbench, grabbed a rag, and walked calmly over to the knight before wrapping it tight around the stump.
I failed the initial trials because I never had any talent for things like seeing the future, or handling a lightsaber, or any of those other little tricks. The Jedi like their students to be well-rounded. What I could do was push and pull things like nobody else in my class. After expulsion, I refined my technique over years and years. I've got one trick, but it's a damn good trick. But pushes and pulls, they don't cut. How did you... That's a legendary Jedi training for you. Who says? All I did was concentrate the energy I could use to shove you through a wall into a tiny area, turning a hammer into a blade. That's how I make my living cutting gems.
He gestured to the workbench where there was still a conspicuous lack of tools.
The girl stays with me. Don't you worry, she's in good hands. Now get the hell out of my house. You'll understand if I don't return your weapon to you. I've always wanted to see what happens if I give a Kyber crystal a gem cut. Could be interesting.
With that, he picked up the knight's disembodied hand, shoved it at the young man, and then turned him in place and shoved him towards the door.
Get some Bacta on that hand. If you're quick, they might even be able to save it.
You were fortunate that he did not take the opportunity to kill you. Based on your experience, what is your recommendation to the council regarding this matter? Leave him alone. He's not a dark Jedi. He's just a hermit who wants to be left alone, and his student will have a remarkable teacher. Also, we would probably do more harm than good trying to force the matter further.
The council agrees with you.
We are not kidnappers. It is encouraging that you are expressing such wisdom now, but your foolishness in forcing the matter in the first place is concerning. As for your injury, were you able to get care soon enough? Unfortunately, Felucia is not kind to exposed wounds. I was able to recover myself, but the hand was irreparably damaged by the time I was able to get back to town for care. I will be seeking a cybernetic replacement.
Unfortunate. However, perhaps the will of the Force is that you take some lesson from this experience. I will be interested to see what you make of it.
Hey everyone, Fiction Rant here, thanks for listening. I've long thought that the Force is highly underutilized, with each new display either pulling out new powers entirely or just dialing existing powers up to 11. Why not just take what they have already and then do something new and interesting with it? So, this is my attempt. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what other manifestations of existing powers you'd like to see or hear about. I have links to my Ko-fi, Patreon, and Fourth Wall in the description if you'd like to support the channel. Patreon in particular is where I'd like to start hosting a discussion about the Protoss versus Eldar matchup that I've been teasing for a while. It still intimidates me, but there's a lot of lore to get through, and all of you together have much more knowledge about it than I do by myself. But yeah, I'd love to discuss with you on that. And until next time, live long and prosper, and may the Force be with you.